Hey y'all, and welcome back. So the topic in today's videos is, what is the worst date you've ever been on? Took me to IHOP with zero money and maximum ego. I was in my mid-20s living in Albuquerque. Not exactly a dating hotbed for someone like me. It was hard finding guys who share my interests. So eventually I started accepting dates with people I just didn't feel a strong spark with, just to stay social. This one guy from a dating app suggested we meet up, and I picked a bookstore cafe as our meeting spot. Neutral ground, public space, and best of all, free, in case things went south quickly. I'm casually browsing the shelves, pretending to look through some heavy philosophy books to seem thoughtful, when I hear this high-pitched, exaggerated laugh, like a goose with a sinus infection. I glance over and spot a tall guy with greasy hair and the most curiosity feminine hips I've ever seen. He kept walking past me, clearly pretending to talk on the phone, but never actually saying hello. After 10 minutes of this awkward drive-by routine, I finally gave up and waved him over. He strutted up and introduced himself using every obscure four-syllable word he could think of, like he had been rehearsing his intro for a TED Talk. What followed was a painful stretch of one-man monologues, weirdly specific anecdotes, and bad puns delivered with theatrical laughter. Every other sentence was followed by some smug vocabulary lesson or patronizing, "Are you following what I'm saying?" Like he expected me to applaud his mental gymnastics. I just smiled and nodded. I already knew this wasn't going anywhere. He eventually asked if I was hungry. I said yes, hoping maybe food would distract from the performance. He mentioned online that he was a total foodie and loved taking dates to hidden gems around town. So I was expecting something eclectic, maybe a cool dino or a low-key Bristol. We pulled into an IHOP. Now that I expected not that I expected a 5-star meal, but this was giving absolutely no foodie. I was also way overdressed. The hostess seated us in a booth, and just as I was about to sit down, I caught him doing the most overacted gesture I've ever seen in my real life. He slapped his hips, dramatically dug into his back pocket, opened his wallet and cringed as if he discovered a bill collector living inside of it. Then that's when it hit me. This man had no intention of paying for dinner. So I leaned into it. I downed like 10 Diet Cokes and made cheerful small talk while pretending to study the menu like it was a map to buried treasure. When the waitress came to take our order, he casually handed her his menu and said, "You know I never order anything." I was stunned. I politely asked her to come back in a minute. That's when he leaned in and hissed, "I didn't bring any money for you to eat." I stared harder at those pancakes than I've ever stared at anything in my life, because I was just so deeply embarrassed for the both of us. Then he says, "We could split an appetizer if you feel like paying for it." I said I wasn't hungry anymore and suggested we leave so we didn't waste the waitress's time. His response, he chuckled and said, "Oh, she doesn't mind. We used to date. She loves it when I come in." At this point, he started making these bizarre attempts to create tension between the waitress and me, like we were suddenly in a competition for his attention. He even got up and chatted with her for 10 minutes while I sat there pretending this wasn't happening. When he came back, giggling like a cartoon villain, I didn't ask what was funny, but of course he told me anyway. "She made a joke about you. Don't worry though. She's just jealous." Eventually, I excused myself to the restroom. On the way back, the waitress called me and quietly asked how I knew him. I told her it was a first date from a dating app. She nodded, then asked if there would be a second. I just said nope. We left shortly after. At the car, he leaned in, probably for a hug or even a kiss, and I awkwardly dodged it with a laugh. The next day, he texted asking if I had fun and wanted to go out again. I told him no. I explained that it was incredibly disrespectful to bring someone to a restaurant and not even offer to go Dutch, and it's just plain weird to take a date to your ex workspace. That's when he lost it. He sent me a flurry of messages ranting about how high maintenance women are and only want rich guys, and how intellectual, genuine men like him get ignored. I didn't respond after that, But I'll never forget that Oscar-worthy moment when he opened his wallet, peeked inside, and flinched like he saw a ghost. This will be our last and final story. The title, The Mayo Incident That Ended the Date. This happened way before I settled down. Back when I was testing the waters of online dating, I had been chatting with a few people, nothing serious, just getting to know them. One woman, let's call her G, had those very specific camera angles in all her photos. You know, the ones, strategic lighting, tilted shots. Not that I'm a model or anything, but I try to stay in decent shape. Still, I kept an open mind and we agreed to meet for dinner at Red Robin, followed by a walk to the waterfront where a carnival was going on. The plan was simple, light dinner, casual vibes. We met in the parking lot and yep, definitely didn't look quite like the pictures, but I wasn't going to be rude. We head inside and the hostess takes us towards the table, but G suddenly refuses to sit there. Says we have to be in the booth, not a big deal, just odd energy right out the gate. We sit down, order drinks, and just water for the both of us, and I ask for a small grilled chicken sandwich. G, on the other hand, orders mozzarella sticks and pretzel bites for an appetizer, followed by one of the biggest burgers on the menu. The appetizers arrive and she absolutely annihilates them. I'm talking full demolition mode. She leaves exactly one mozzarella stick on the plate and offers it to me like it's a romantic gesture. You want this last one? I politely declined. The entrees just show up and now she's upset. Apparently, her burger doesn't have enough mayo on it. She waves the waitress over and complains, to which the server calmly offers mayo packets. How many would you like? She asks. 6 or 7 should do it. And I kid you not, she uses every single one of them. I've never seen a burger drown in so much mayo in my life. I was struggling to eat my sandwich while pretending not to gag. The waitress clearly picked up my horror and did her best to keep things moving. The check came, I paid, and I was already mapping my exit plan. As we're walking out, she says, I'm so excited for the carnival. They have the best fried food down there. That was my cue. I told her I had some things I need to take care of and made my exit before she could suggest deep fried Oreos. And just like that. Okay, y'all, so these were all the story times in the topic of what was your worst date ever.